What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Too Good for Theaters video. I'm sure I could hear a lot of Patriots fans right now saying, well, they can't even fucking lose, right? But the Patriots end up getting their W versus the Buffalo Bills here in Week 18 by a final score of 23-16. So let's get into this game breakdown. So starting off this game breakdown here from an offensive purpose here, of course, Drake May only getting one series in this game, and the Patriots really wanted to kind of wrap him up in bubble wrap. And I don't blame him whatsoever. Drake May certainly got enough reps this season to know whether or not you think he's the franchise quarterback or not. And you certainly don't want any risk of injuries, especially in a quote-unquote meaningless game here in terms of a winning sense for the Patriots. But it was good to see Joe Milton get into this game, and he looked really good, even compared to how he looked in preseason. And I personally thought that Joe Milton had a really good preseason. He looked that much better in today's game. And I think that's a credit to not only Joe Milton, of course, but also to Alex Van Pelt and really just his ability to develop these young rookie quarterbacks. And I'll talk about this a little bit either later in this video or in a upcoming video about how Alex Van Pelt has done a nice job this season. But it really just shows with how these two rookie quarterbacks have developed behind the scenes. And Joe Milton looked really good in particular today. Obviously showed off that arm talent that he has. And really the one big question was whether or not he was going to be able to up his accuracy in the NFL level. And I understand he's going up against the Bills' second team, at times third team, but he looked accurate. He looked composed. He looked like he had a good communication in the huddle. And Joe Milton looked every bit the part of a quarterback in the NFL today. And I kind of alluded to this a little bit in my Joe Milton draft video. For his career, it might not be best to be here in New England playing behind Drake May. But this really is kind of the opportunity to have one of those showcase games where he can kind of really show off his talents to other teams across the league. Of course, that arm talent as well as his athleticism. And it's a very encouraging sign that Joe Milton took another step today in that development. And at the very least, you look like you have a confident backup quarterback in Joe Milton who could at least move the football. And even at the best here, maybe a quarterback needy team might offer the Patriots maybe a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick for Joe Milton here that they can really use to help improve this roster even more in terms of draft capital wise. But I think that this was a very good game from Joe Milton, and it was just good to see him come out and play some good football today. You know, Alex Van Pelt had a lot of bootleg passes for him to really take advantage of. I remember a couple he hit. I believe it was Austin Hooper on some comeback routes to Kendrick Bourne as well as Kayshon Boutte on the day. And this offense did look pretty seamless with Joe Milton kind of filling in that role there. They were at times able to establish a run game, and at times they were not able to. But I think that the offensive line in general played pretty well today. And I understand the competition that they were going up against, but I think that this was an encouraging sign. Of course, Cole Strange was back in at center there. I believe you had Layden Robinson at the left guard position. Then you had your usual starting tackles until they moved Demontre Jacobs over to left tackle, and you even saw another rookie in Caden Wallace coming in. Of course, that 3rd round pick out of Penn State at his natural position at right tackle. And to be honest, he didn't look great. He had a couple penalties drawn against him. But really, just as I'm going to say in this video, any amount of experience that this rookie class can get is going to be a win for the Patriots here. Caden Wallace got some reps in there at right tackle. And, of course, Layden Robinson has been starting these games at the left guard these past couple weeks. But you also saw Javon Baker get into the game and actually get himself his first NFL catch. So congratulations to Javon Baker there. You would have probably liked to see a lot more of him this season. But, hey, any little bit of productive play and really any time from a rookie is something that you really want to see. So Javon Baker getting his first catch on the year for 12 yards was an encouraging sign there. Of course, you saw Jaheim Bell make a big play. And Jaheim Bell is getting more and more playing time as kind of that third tight end. And today he had himself a nice catch over the middle there from Joe Milton, of course. And it's just encouraging to see these younger players get more and more playing time as well as actually be productive in those playing times there. You also saw Marcellus Dial in on the defensive end. Of course, he's played some cornerback, some defensive snaps at times this year, but mainly in on special teams. And then, really, I think that the only rookie that really wasn't having any type of playing time in this game was a Jalen Polk, and of course, that's the injury. But I think offensively, the Patriots moved the ball well. I think that Alex Van Pelt was calling the game with some rhythm between play action, some tight end screams, running inside to outside. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in the coaching video here. I do think that he has gained more and more momentum as a play caller and become much more balanced, as well as just being able to realize the capability of his offensive roster, as well as kind of expanding the playbook the moment his offensive line started to get some continuity behind them, as well as really the playbook with Jacoby Brissett versus Drake May. And I'll kind of lump Joe Milton in with Drake May because they both have very similar archetypes. They both have good arms. They're both able to scramble well, move around the pocket. So I do think that it was different from Jacoby Brissett compared to Joe Milton as well as Drake May. But ultimately, if you're a Patriots fan, I understand vying for that first round or first overall pick on the day, but it was encouraging to see the Patriots pull this one out and get a W. The players are always going to be playing to win, and I think that this coaching staff really was kind of coaching to win. And, there's going to be a lot of speculation about jobs for this coaching staff, so I don't think that they were necessarily coaching for their jobs in this game in particular, how they coached, particularly Gerard Mayo, but I feel like their fate has already been sealed, whether the Crafts believe they're going to be fired or not. But I do think that this was encouraging, and I think that the players really kind of fought well for Gerard Mayo through the end here, even if this ultimately does end up being his last game here coached in New England. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, understandably, you're going up against Buffalo's 2s as well as 3s, with Josh Allen really only taking one snap on the day. But I do think that the Patriots did a better job today of defending the run, as well as the secondary had themselves a really nice day. And that's really where a lot of the struggles defensively have come in for the Patriots this season, has just been the inconsistency of this defense. But one thing that really has been consistent all year for the Patriots is their inability to get any pressure on the quarterback. And I think once again today, they were actually unable to come up with a single sack. But as I alluded to before, I think that the secondary today played really well. In particular, guys like Alex Austin, who was very good last year at this time and kind of proved himself to be maybe a vital piece for the Patriots' upcoming season. Of course, that being this season, but that's really where Alex Austin came along last year at this time. And so it's encouraging to see guys like Del Pettis, as well as even practice squad guys like Miles Battle, really have good games here. And maybe that's a piece that gets them kind of going on an upward trajectory here for this Patriots secondary, as well as guys like Isaiah Bolden had a really nice game. I feel like he was in Keon Coleman's face a lot of times, as well as Miles Battle. And I would say that they did a really nice job of kind of holding up against a first-round pick in Keon Coleman. So that's a very encouraging sign. Christian Ellis had a really nice day at the office, I would say, today, as well as Jelani Tavai. But Christian Ellis in particular, man, at the beginning of the season, I really did not want to see him at all in some coverage snaps. And in particular, I remember one against Miami where it was a pass interference that really ended up costing the Patriots on third down, extended the Miami drive that ultimately ended up giving up a leading score in that game there. But Christian Ellis has done such a nice job since that point in pass coverage and really has worked on it. So that's a very encouraging sign. And Christian Ellis on the season overall really has just done a nice job. And I want to give a really big shout out to Christian Ellis as someone who was a special teams player who started working their way on the defense through some injury snaps. But Christian Ellis had himself a really nice season. And in this game, I think everything that really he worked on kind of cultivated in him, having himself another really good defensive game there. But I think that this game in particular for me is kind of why I was so frustrated with the defense, because I do think that this defense was talented. I just think through injuries and some poor coaching potentially that this defense definitely underperformed compared to prior seasons. And I understand that prior seasons you weren't facing the type of offenses that you faced this season, but it was still a little drastic how this defense kind of fell off at this stage. So I'm going to be interested to see what the Patriots do from a defensive answer, in particular on the coaching staff for the next season, because I do not believe DeMarcus Covington will be returning as the defensive coordinator for the Patriots. Whether or not he stays on the staff is going to be interesting, but I would say an overall good day by the defense, and they certainly performed much better than they have for the rest of the season on today's day. So ultimately, to wrap up this video here, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this game and how it might impact the future of the franchise and whether or not the Patriots fucked themselves by winning this game. And I'm going to say that the Patriots did fuck themselves by winning this game, but not to the same degree, or not to the franchise-altering level of degree where last year, if, say, they were to beat the Jets, and maybe they moved down the order, you already have your quarterback in Drake May. So you don't necessarily need to have the top 3 pick to get yourself like a top quarterback in this draft. But really, I think that the only area in which the Patriots get screwed over here by this win is the draft compensation that they would have gained with having the first overall pick. And I don't want to undermine that because obviously that's huge. Maybe you get a second round pick instead of a third pick, or even just moving back a couple spots. Maybe you can move back to the third pick and get yourself more draft compensation instead of just basically moving from a second rounder or a third in terms of getting the fourth overall pick here. But in particular, I do think that this really takes you out of the Travis Hunter sweepstakes because, of course, the Patriots have really shown all indications of trading back. But I would say that there was potentially a small chance that if the Patriots did get the first overall pick and they did trade back maybe 1 or 2 spots, say with the Giants, maybe if they wanted to select a quarterback and trade up to get the first overall, like maybe you could get Travis Hunter with the third overall pick. But I really don't see all 3 of the top 3 teams in this draft going for a quarterback, especially with the quarterback draft class in terms of this year's class. So you could basically write off Travis Hunter, who really is the one elite prospect in this draft class here for the Patriots. So if you are a Travis Hunter to New England fanboy, that win probably ultimately crushes your dreams of him coming here to New England. And I think that that's really the biggest impact in which this game or this win kind of affects the franchise in. But, of course, there's more questions to be answered in this offseason of whether or not this coaching staff is going to be returning, in particular Gerard Mayo. I think that this game ultimately does not help or do a disservice to Gerard Mayo's chances of coming back. I think that his job was probably already decided before this game. So it's going to be interesting to see if any announcements come back regarding his job status next year with the Crafts. But really, in this offseason, this Patriots front office is going to have a huge offseason here because, they can't afford to miss. You have a ton of cap space. You're going to have a serviceable pick in this NFL draft. And, it's time for this front office to really prove and get this Patriots franchise back on the right trajectory. They have all the assets to do so. And I don't think that this is necessarily a one-year fix. And by what I mean by having a successful offseason is if you could get this team next year to 6, 7, 8 wins, but playing good football on the right trajectory, I would consider that a huge success for this offseason and how this team is kind of best suited to go forward here. But with all the cap space available in this draft class, you have to have a better draft class than you did, or you have to get a better draft class than you have this previous season. And I understand you drafted Drake May. That was your job. You hit on Drake May. But the rest of this draft class thus far does not look amazing for the Patriots here. So you're going to have a more productive draft class in terms of outside your generational quarterback that you hit on. But it's going to be really important for this front office to have a good offseason, and it's going to put a ton of pressure on Robert Kraft and the ownership of this team. If this team does not come out and have a good offseason and continues to play really in this kind of mediocre sense leading into next season, there's going to be so much pressure on this Kraft organization to make changes, as well as really just to kind of get this team back to the winning tradition of years past here. So it is such a huge offseason for the Patriots here, and it's going to be interesting to see how they approach it. And ultimately, this game might have delayed the better chances of having that better offseason for next season, but it's not going to avoid any bit of ability to have a great offseason next season. So it's up to the front office, it's up to this coaching staff, and it's up to ownership to really have themselves a very good offseason, get on the same page, and really perform better than they did this previous season. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the Patriots offseason and what you would plan to do if you were Robert Kraft on bringing back this coaching staff. And on a side note here, thank you so much again for watching. And if you've been really viewing all of our seasonal breakdowns here for the Patriots games, it is greatly appreciated as the channel continues to grow. It means the world to me. And once again, thank you so much for watching.